My toxic family picked the worst possible place to accuse me, my cousin's wedding, in a packed country club ballroom outside Boston. Crystal chandeliers, open bar, first dance about to start, and my uncle grabbed the mic and said I'd betrayed the family. My parents stood there nodding, while 150 guests turned in their seats to stare at me like I'd just ruined the bride's big day. They said I was greedy, said I'd torn the family apart over money, said I didn't deserve to stand there pretending to celebrate love. What they forgot? I wasn't just a guest at that wedding. I was the only one in that room who had proof they were lying. My cousin Emma's wedding was supposed to be beautiful, and it was at first. The venue was a country club outside Boston, all crystal chandeliers and white tablecloths and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a golf course. The kind of place that costs more per plate than most people spend on groceries in a month. My aunt and uncle had spared no expense. I drove up from New York the night before, stayed in a hotel, bought a new dress for the occasion, not because I cared about impressing anyone, but because I wanted to look good. For me, for Emma, who was the only cousin who'd ever been kind to me. The ceremony was lovely. Emma cried, her new husband cried, everyone cried. Standard wedding stuff. Then came the reception. The ballroom was packed, 150 guests, maybe more. Open bar, past hors d'oeuvres, a live band setting up in the corner. I found my seat at a table near the back, not because I was exiled there, but because I preferred it. Easier to watch, easier to avoid conversations I didn't want to have. Dinner was served, chicken or fish. I had the chicken, made small talk with the strangers at my table, checked my phone under the table like the millennial I am. Then the toasts started. Emma's father, my Uncle Richard, stood up first. He welcomed everyone, thanked them for coming, told a sweet story about Emma as a little girl. The usual. People clapped, drank, smiled. Then he said, "There's one more thing I need to say." The room quieted. People leaned in, expecting something heartfelt. I should have known. I should have felt it coming. He looked directly at me. Across the entire ballroom, over 150 heads, his eyes found mine. He said, "Family is supposed to be everything, but not everyone in this family understands that. Some people think they can take what they want, hurt whoever they want, and just walk away like nothing happened." My stomach dropped. My mother stood up from her table. My father joined her. They stood together, nodding along, faces hard. My uncle continued, "We have someone here today who's caused nothing but pain, who tore this family apart over money, who sat in a courtroom and accused her own relatives of things that never happened." Whispers rippled through the room, heads turned, eyes found me. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. My uncle said, "She knows who she is, and I'm done pretending she's welcome at family events. I'm done letting her sit there and smile like she belongs here. She doesn't." My mother started crying. On cue, perfectly timed. My father put his arm around her, the picture of wounded parents. The room was frozen, 150 people trapped in a moment that had nothing to do with them, watching a family implode at a wedding. Emma stood at the head table, white as a ghost. Her new husband held her hand, looking lost. My uncle raised his glass. To family, the real family, the ones who actually show up. People didn't know what to do. Some drank, some stared at their plates, some watched me. I sat there, hands gripping the edges of my chair, feeling every pair of eyes in that room. And then something shifted. Not the room, me. The shock faded, the hurt faded. What was left was something cold, clear, absolute. I stood up. 150 people watched me rise from my chair, watched me walk towards the front of the room, watched me stop in front of the head table where my uncle still stood with the microphone. "Emma," I said quietly, "I'm so sorry." She looked at me with wet eyes, didn't speak. I turned to my uncle, held out my hand. "Give me the mic." He hesitated. Something flickered in his eyes. Fear? Doubt? Too late. I took the microphone from his hand, faced the room. "My name is Sarah, and I'm the person my uncle just accused of tearing this family apart." Murmurs, people leaning forward, phones coming out to record. I'm not going to stand here and defend myself, not with words. I reached into my clutch and pulled out my phone. "I'm going to show you." I connected my phone to the AV system, tapped a few buttons. The screens around the room, the ones that had been displaying the couple's engagement photos, flickered, and then they showed something else. A document, official, legal, my grandmother's will. This is my grandmother's will, the one she wrote before she died, the one that left her estate to be divided equally between her children and grandchildren. I swiped to the next image, and this is the forged version my uncle created, the one that cut me out entirely, the one that gave everything to him and my parents. Gasps, people leaning forward, phones coming out to record. My uncle stepped forward. "That's enough. Turn that off." I ignored him, swiped again. This is a bank statement showing where the money went. Offshore accounts, opened in my uncle's name the week after my grandmother died. My mother screamed, actually screamed. Lies, all lies. I looked at her, at this woman who had just stood there while her brother destroyed me in public. "Mom, I have emails from you thanking Uncle Richard for handling things, asking if the offshore accounts were secure." Her face went white. The room was chaos, people shouting, crying, phones recording everything. I turned back to the crowd. I didn't come here to ruin Emma's wedding. I came here to celebrate her, but my family couldn't let me do that. They had to make me the villain one more time. I looked at Emma, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I set the microphone down, walked out of that ballroom, past 150 frozen guests, past my mother's screams, past my uncle's threats. In the parking lot, I leaned against my car and finally let myself breathe. The door opened behind me. Emma, still in her wedding dress. "Sarah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean—" "Don't." She grabbed my arm. "Don't apologize. I've been watching them do this to you for years. I never said anything. I never stopped them." She pulled me into a hug. "I'm glad you did it," she whispered. "I'm glad someone finally told the truth." We stood there, in that parking lot, in our fancy dresses, holding each other while the chaos continued inside. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. I didn't go back to the wedding. Emma walked me to my car, hugged me one last time, and returned to her reception, to her new husband, to the mess my family had made of her perfect day. I drove back to my hotel, changed out of my fancy dress, and sat on the edge of the bed staring at the wall for hours. My phone buzzed constantly. Texts from strangers who'd been at the wedding, voicemails from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, a few from numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored all of them. Around midnight, Emma texted, "They're gone. Uncle Richard left with your parents. Half the guests left after you did. My wedding is ruined." I stared at the message. My heart sank. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean—" "Stop apologizing. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at them for using my wedding as their battlefield, for making this about them." I didn't know what to say. "Get some sleep. We'll talk tomorrow." I didn't sleep. The next morning, the story had already spread. Family group chats were exploding, relatives taking sides, some defending me, saying they'd always suspected my uncle was shady, others calling me selfish for airing dirty laundry at a wedding, a few just asking what was true and what was lies. My mother called 17 times. I let them all go to voicemail. Her messages shifted over the course of the day. First, angry, "How dare you humiliate us like that?" Then confused, "Where did you get those documents?" Then desperate, "Please, just call me. We need to fix this." I saved every one. Around noon, Emma called. Her voice was tired. I talked to my parents. They're not good. "Your dad hates me. He's confused. He believed your parents. He thought you were the problem. Now he doesn't know what to think." "And your mom?" A pause. "She knew. About the will. About the money. She's known the whole time." I sat up. "What?" "She didn't want to know. She looked the other way. Let Dad handle everything. But she knew, Sarah. She knew they cut you out. And she said nothing." I closed my eyes, felt the weight of another betrayal. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry for her choices. She made them, not you. We talked for a while longer, about nothing, about everything. When we hung up, I felt emptier than before. Rebecca called that afternoon. I'd sent her everything, the documents, the recordings, the whole story. You've got them, she said, legally, morally, every way that matters. That will is clearly forged. The offshore accounts are damning. If you want to sue, you'll win. Do I want to sue my own family? Do you want to let them get away with stealing your inheritance? I thought about it. Thought about my grandmother, who'd worked her whole life for that money. Thought about the years I'd struggled, the loans I'd taken out, the things I'd gone without. Thought about my uncle standing at that wedding, microphone in hand, lying to 150 people. Yes, I said, I want to sue. Rebecca's voice was steady. Good, then let's do this. 2 weeks later, the legal papers were served. My uncle called within hours, screaming, You're suing me? Your own uncle? At my daughter's wedding, you couldn't wait to destroy me, and now this? I didn't destroy you. You did that yourself. I just showed everyone the proof. You're going to regret this. Your parents are devastated. The family is torn apart, and it's all your fault. It's not my fault. It's yours. You forged a will. You stole money that wasn't yours. You spent years lying about it, and then you stood at your daughter's wedding and accused me in front of everyone. A long pause. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Lower. Dangerous. Drop the lawsuit, Sarah, or I'll make sure everyone knows the truth about you. What truth? That you're unstable, that you've been in therapy for years, that you have a history of making things up, of seeing conspiracies where there are none. I almost laughed. You're going to lie about me? That's your move? It's not a lie if I can make people believe it. Try it. I have recordings of this conversation too. I hung up. The smear campaign started within days. Anonymous posts on family Facebook groups, whispers at Sunday services, phone calls to relatives spreading rumors about my mental health, my stability, my character. Some people believed it. Some always believe the loudest voice. But others started reaching out. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, family friends who'd watched me grow up. They shared their own stories, their own suspicions, their own proof that my uncle had been manipulating people for decades. One of them was my Aunt Margaret, not Emma's mom, the other one, my father's sister. She called me late one night. Sarah, I need to tell you something. What is it? Your uncle isn't the only one who knew about the will. Your mother helped him forge it. Your father provided the witnesses. They were all in on it. Together. I couldn't breathe. What? I have proof. Emails, bank records. I've been saving them for years, waiting for the right moment. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was scared. Scared of your father. Scared of losing my family. Scared of what they'd do to me. I sat down. And now? Now I'm done being scared. You stood up at that wedding. You told the truth. You gave me courage. The next day, Margaret sent me everything. Dozens of emails between my uncle and my parents discussing the forged will, planning how to cut me out, celebrating when they succeeded. I read them all, felt the betrayal fresh again. My own mother, my own father, they'd helped steal my inheritance. They'd sat in that courtroom and watched me lose. And then they'd stood at a wedding and accused me of tearing the family apart. I called Rebecca. We need to amend the lawsuit. Add my parents. She didn't hesitate. Done.
The lawsuit moved faster than anyone expected.
With Aunt Margaret's evidence, Rebecca had everything she needed: emails, bank records, witness statements, a paper trail that stretched back years, connecting my uncle to my parents, proving they'd all conspired to steal my inheritance. The court date was set for 3 months out. 3 months of waiting, of watching, of wondering if justice would actually come. My uncle fought hard, hired expensive lawyers, tried to discredit me, to paint me as unstable, to convince the court that I was the problem, not them. My parents did the same, sat in depositions and lied, claimed they'd never seen the forged will, claimed they didn't know where the money came from, claimed I was making it all up. But they couldn't explain the emails, the ones where my mother wrote to my uncle, "Make sure Sarah doesn't find out. She'll never forgive us." Or my father's message, "The offshore account is set up. No one will ever know." They couldn't explain the bank statements showing money transferred the week after my grandmother died. They couldn't explain any of it. The trial lasted 4 days. I sat in that courtroom every single day, watching the people who raised me try to destroy me one more time. My uncle glared at me from across the room. My mother cried on the stand, playing the victim. My father stared straight ahead, refusing to look at me. On the 4th day, the jury returned. Guilty. All of them. Fraud, conspiracy, theft, every charge. My uncle's face went gray. My mother collapsed into her chair. My father finally looked at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw something in his eyes that wasn't anger or judgment. Fear. The judge spoke. Restitution ordered. Every penny of my inheritance, plus interest, plus damages. Legal fees to be paid by the defendants. A permanent restraining order against all of them. I sat in the front row, Emma beside me, holding my hand. When the gavel fell, I felt something I'd never felt before. Peace. Outside the courthouse, the media was waiting. The story had gone local. Family drama, forged wills, a wedding confrontation. Reporters shouted questions as I walked down the steps. I didn't answer any of them. I just walked to my car, got in, and drove away. Emma followed me to my apartment. We ordered pizza, opened wine, and sat on my floor like we did when we were kids. "It's over," she said. I nodded. "It's over." "How do you feel?" I thought about it. Thought about the years of manipulation, the betrayal, the public humiliation at her wedding. Thought about the trial, the evidence, the verdict. I don't know. Numb, maybe? Relieved? Something in between. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm proud of you. You know that, right? You did what no one else in this family ever had the courage to do." "What's that?" "Told the truth, even when it cost you everything." I looked at her, at the only family member who'd stood by me. "It didn't cost me everything. I still have you." She smiled. We drank our wine. A month later, the money arrived. A wire transfer into my account. Every penny of my inheritance, plus interest, plus damages. More money than I'd ever seen in my life. I stared at the number for a long time. Thought about my grandmother who'd worked her whole life to save it. Thought about the years I'd struggled, the loans I'd taken out, the things I'd gone without. And then I thought about what she'd want me to do with it. I called Emma. "Clear your calendar for Saturday. We're going shopping." She laughed. "What?" "My treat, for everything, for standing by me, for being the only family I've got. You don't have to do that." "I know, but I want to." Saturday was perfect. We hit every store in the city, bought ridiculous things we didn't need, laughed until we couldn't breathe. Dinner at a fancy restaurant, dessert at a place that served milkshakes with whole slices of cake on top. At the end of the night, Emma looked at me across the table. "Are you okay? Really?" I thought about it. Thought about my parents, about my uncle, about the family I'd lost. I'm getting there. Therapy helps. You help. I'm glad. "Emma?" "Yeah?" "I'm sorry about your wedding. I know I ruined it." She reached across the table and took my hand. "You didn't ruin it. They did. You just refused to let them get away with it." I squeezed her hand. "Thank you for being here, for believing me. Always." 6 months later, I bought a new house. Not a replacement for the one I'd lost. This was different, bigger, brighter, mine. every room filled with furniture I'd chosen, colors I loved, a life I was building. The first night I slept there, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence. No fighting, no manipulation, no lies. Just peace. My phone buzzed. Emma, how's the first night in the new place? I typed back, perfect, just perfect. Good, you deserve it. I smiled, set the phone down, closed my eyes. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of what tomorrow would bring. My parents never reached out again. The restraining order kept them away. I heard through distant relatives that they'd moved, changed their names, tried to start over somewhere no one knew what they'd done. My uncle went to prison, 6 months plus probation plus fines. Not enough, maybe, but something. Emma and I grew closer than ever. She became the sister I never had, the family I chose. And my grandmother's money? I used it to start a foundation. Small, local, helping young women who'd been cut off from their families. A way to honor her memory. A way to make sure no one else went through what I went through. At the opening ceremony, Emma stood beside me. A reporter asked why I'd started the foundation. I looked at the crowd, at the faces of young women who'd found safety, support, hope. I said, because family isn't always blood. Sometimes family is the people you believe, the people who stand by you, the people who help you fight. I smiled at Emma. Sometimes family is the people you choose.